What are the best sales techniques for client presentations? In this video, you're going to get 3 very simple steps that your client presentation should flow in for you to have extremely high conversions. And at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a secret that is actually going to eliminate the need for you to do any type of closing. And I know that a lot of salespeople don't like to do any type of cliche closing questions. Nobody likes to do that. So in this video, you're going to learn how to completely avoid doing that, but still get the sale. If this sounds good to you, click that like button and let's get started. So at a client presentation, the best sales techniques that could possibly be used are to make the presentation a very simple 3-part process. The first part of your presentation should be where you're implementing the 80-20 rule. And if you haven't watched my other video explaining what that is, you can check that out here. In simple terms, the 80-20 rule means that 80% of the time, the client should be doing the speaking. And 20% of the time, you should be speaking. And a lot of salespeople will say, well, but I have so much to explain, how can I only be speaking 20% of the time? Don't worry about that. If you check out that other video, it's going to explain to you how you can actually have a very successful meeting where the client is doing most of the talking. Now, the reason that you want the client to do most of the talking in the beginning of a meeting is because you want to be able to extract the information from them that you're going to use later in step number 2. Okay, so step number 1 is just make sure you have that 80-20 rule happening, where the client is doing most of the talking. And the way you get them to do this is by asking very, very smart, open-ended questions. The second step in your sales presentation is what I call story time. You're going to pull out your visual, which I like to have a tablet. It could be anything, iPad, Samsung, it doesn't matter. Any type of tablet. I like it to fit in my purse or make sure it fits in your briefcase. It shouldn't be something like huge. Prefer if you don't have a laptop. It should be something a bit more sophisticated and compact. And if you can have it sitting on the table before you start your meeting, it's even better. So they know that you're gonna show them something visually. Now, if you normally don't show anything visually, drop that in the comments below. Tell me what kind of business you have or what kind of service that you normally run, and I'll tell you how you can incorporate something visual. You definitely want to do that. Most people are visual learners. Now, here's how story time works. What you're going to be showing them on here is examples of different clients' success stories and different results that you have achieved for those clients. So it's going to be example after example after example. And there's a few things that you want to incorporate into story time. Number 1, the results. Results that you have achieved for, ideally, their competitors. If you can bring in competition to the person you're sitting in front of and show them what you've done for that competition, genius. Everybody wants to know what their competition is doing, right? So show them results that you're getting for their competition. The second thing you want to incorporate into story time is keywords that the client was just telling you. So in the first part of the meeting where they were talking, you should have been taking notes. And I always talk about how important note-taking is. In fact, you can watch this video right here. I explain more about how important note-taking is in this video. But when you gathered all those words at the beginning of the meeting and the phrases and the challenges, and you got all that information from the client in the beginning of the meeting, you should have written it down. Now, while you're going through story time and you're showing them examples of, results that you've gotten for different clients on your tablet, you should be incorporating the phrases and the words that the client used at the beginning of the meeting into your stories. So you need to be very, very quick, and you need to be able to be flexible in your stories and your explanation to incorporate that super fast. The third thing you want to do in story time is you want to ask questions. And so it shouldn't be just you talking the entire time. You are going to be doing most of the talking because you're going to be explaining what the results that you've gotten for other clients, but they need to be engaged. Now, if the client is not engaged, for example, if they're sitting back or they just don't seem interested, you can do this very simple technique, which is hold the tablet a little bit further back so they are physically forced to lean in. Because if they lean in, what the body tells the brain is that they're interested. Even if they're consciously not interested in what you're saying or they don't like what you're saying, by physically leaning in, it tells the brain that they are actually interested. So just a little tip you can use there. As you're explaining what you've done for the client, you want to make sure they're verbally engaged as well. So incorporate questions into your stories that allow the client to give you, maybe there's some questions that you forgot to ask at the beginning, or maybe they didn't want to answer them before, or you didn't get enough clarity, or maybe they were getting kind of antsy with the questions at the beginning of the meeting and they said, well, show me what you have. Because some clients will tell you that when you're asking them a bunch of questions, they'll say, well, can you just show me what you have, and then we'll get into all of this information. And that's when you can start showing them your client examples, but incorporate your questions in there, because that's a great way to get them to start answering. Now, here is the secret. The third step in your presentation is to not close. I know. Every sales training, everything you've ever studied before tells you need to close, you need to say this, and here's this cliche, and close hard and be persuasive. I'm telling you, don't close. Stay with me. What you want to do is you want to continue to show them example after result after client success story until you recognize a buying signal. Okay, buying signals usually are going to come in two forms. Number one, question, and it could be something like, okay, how much would it cost if I wanted to do that? That's a buying signal. Most salespeople miss these buying signals. So they might answer the question and then they keep going. It's a buying signal. They're talking about price, like we're done. Another buying signal can come in the form of a statement. So as you're showing them example after example of what you've done for other clients, oh, so we did this for this client. Before using our services, they were experiencing 1, 2, 3 problems, similar to what you were saying, but after using some of our services, now they're experiencing 1, 2, 3. They've increased profits, decreased costs by this much, whatever the case is. The client will usually say something like, that's what I want to do. Let's do that. Again, this is a very obvious buying signal, right? But the client can say it in a lot of different ways. And I've been in so many meetings where I've seen the salesperson completely miss that buying signal. When you recognize a buying signal, all you need to do is answer their question if it's a question, and then stop talking and see where they go from there. Because in most cases, depending on who you're meeting with and their level, they will most likely have made up their mind. And then all you need to do is wrap up that meeting and send them the contract. If you like these tips, give this video a thumbs up so YouTube will share it with other people that are also interested in not having to do closing techniques. I know that's one of the most dreaded areas of sales. But if you do all these techniques correctly from the beginning, you don't have to do any closing techniques. The customers will buy. And people want to buy anyway, right? They don't want to be sold. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and do that now. and I'll see you in the next video.